Mike Hollister, Pastor Joe here. I want to take this opportunity this week to sort of share some of my own experience with the implicit bias test and to challenge you to continue to move forward, watching some new videos, potentially reading some articles to continue to do this work of informing ourselves of the current situation we find ourselves in with racial tension in our country, sort of the Christian call to spread the good news to all people, to draw our circle wider, to break down the barriers of bias and racism. So I hope you'll engage. I'm going to challenge you to hear difficult things, to challenge yourself, to remain open-minded to this. I want to talk briefly about a distinction that other people, Wendy and Catherine have mentioned. You know, there's overt racism or overt bias where someone consciously in their heart dislikes a particular group because of their race, right? Or because of their religion, or because of their gender. You might picture white supremacists or the Ku Klux Klan, right? Overt racism. And I am not racist like that. And I'm guessing those of you watching this video are not racist like that. And for much of my life, I thought, well, I'm not racist, right? Because I don't burn crosses in people's yards and whatnot. What I didn't understand, what I was ignorant of, is implicit bias, unconscious bias. Our brains are wired to be biased in various ways, in all kinds of ways, right? Race is only one of those ways. But we're often not aware that it's happening. So I don't know if you've ever walked into a room. I've had this experience, and intuitively I will feel like something's off. Something's wrong here. Something's not safe. A particular person might not be safe. And I can't explain why I feel that way. I just sort of have this uneasy feeling, right? That is what intuition is, right? That's not something where I'm directly aware of why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I just have a sense about this place, about this person. Many of those intuitions that we have are racially biased, right? Not because we have overt hatred, not because we have overt dislike. We just tend to lean towards people that are like us politically, that are like us religiously, that are like us economically. We want to be in neighborhoods where our neighbors are like us in particular ways. Race is only one of those ways. We feel more comfortable that way. So you think about the friends you have. Most of them are very similar to you. You think about who you interact with online, right? It's often people that are very similar to you. You feel more comfortable and less anxiety when you agree with someone religiously, politically. You have similar interests. And race plays into that. We lean away from people, our intuitions lean away from people that are different from us racially. Our culture provides stereotypes of race. Certain races get linked with crime, such as black bodies, right? We implicitly, unconsciously associate them with crime more frequently than we would white people, right? But this isn't because we hate people of color. This isn't because we have overt racism. It's because we have this implicit, taught, trained, biological sort of bias towards them. And so lots of research has been done to suggest this is true. Lots and lots of research. The implicit bias test is just one piece. To share my journey, right? I have never, to my knowledge, been an overt racist, right? I've never really consciously held those views. But for much of my life, I have had implicit bias racially. When I took the test, I had a black face in one corner of my screen and a white face in the other corner, and I was associating positive words like sunshine or candy with the white face, and I'm associating negative words, cancer and whatnot, with the black face, and I'm right-clicking, left-clicking as fast as I can, right? And it was very easy for me to put the positive words with the white face, negative words with the black face, no problem. I could right-click, left-click without even thinking, just very quick. When it was shifted and I had to put positive words to the black face and I had to put negative words to the white face, so now cancer is going to the white face, and love and joy are going to the black face, I was still able to do it rather quickly, but I could feel myself, I could feel my brain having to work harder. I had to shift and click. So I was slower, right? And just the idea that I had to actually concentrate more, that I had to click my brain into a different mode to go positive words to the black face, showed my bias. I could feel it, and then my results showed it. And this was eye-opening. Like, wow, I can see how my gut reactions, my implicit judgments are not all across the board. I had similar biases toward old faces versus young faces. I was biased against the elderly. So there are all kinds of ways we make assumptions about groups of people without being aware that we're doing it. But this impacts every area of life. Maybe you don't have implicit bias racially. That's great. But when you have millions and millions of interactions nationally, right, this is going to begin to play a role because many people will have these biases. So it impacts how teachers react to their students. It impacts how employers respond to their employees. It impacts how doctors and nurses respond to their patients. And it impacts how police respond to the people that they're interacting with. Not because these individuals are overt racists, but if there's implicit bias, then over time, these many, many, many millions of interactions are going to skew towards a kind of racist set of outcomes. And so we have to become aware. I'm going to encourage you. The video I want you to watch is a TED Talk by Jennifer Eberhardt. She's a psychologist at Stanford. She is brilliant. It's 13 minutes long. It's her TED Talk. And in this TED Talk, she is going to talk about many studies that she and her research team have conducted. They have been peer-reviewed heavily. They have been published in the top journals. She is an excellent researcher. And she is documenting in research how implicit bias impacts health outcomes, educational outcomes, criminal justice outcomes. I'm going to link in my email, I want you to watch the video, and then I'm going to give you a link that takes you directly to her research. She has made all of her publications available for free. You can read these amazing peer-reviewed articles. I'm going to encourage you to do that, especially if you're skeptical of implicit bias. You're skeptical of racial bias. There's a lot of evidence. She is just one researcher among many doing this work, but you can engage it and see for yourself how much implicit bias plays a role in criminal justice outcomes, police interactions, how doctors and nurses respond to patients, how teachers respond to students. It's not great, right? The results do not look good. But the more we can become aware of this implicit bias, the more we bring it to light, the better we're able to fight it. And Jennifer Eberhardt gives some great solutions, things they've done that have provided better outcomes, right? So there are solutions to some of these struggles and some of these problems. For those that maybe don't want to read articles, I understand that. After Dr. Eberhardt's TED Talk, I'm going to provide a second video that demonstrates some of this implicit bias and how we intuitively, many of us intuitively link black bodies, black individuals with crime. And we're not even aware we're doing it, right? This is just kind of an unconscious set of assumptions we make. So that second video will support much of what Dr. Eberhardt's saying in her TED Talk. These are not easy things to wrestle with. They are difficult. But as Christians, we have a call to dismantle injustice, oppression, and racism wherever we find it. Scripture gives us a clear call that the good news is for all peoples, all groups, all nations. Whenever Israel wanted to draw a boundary between them and other ethnic groups, God dismantles that boundary and says, Israel, draw the boundary wider. Include Gentiles. Include Samaritans, include Moabites. Over and over and over again, God says we've got to do the work of breaking down these walls. One of the most difficult walls to break down is the implicit bias we have and that we're unaware of. It gives us kind of plausible deniability that we are not acting on these biases. But the evidence suggests that many of us are doing that. The more we can become aware, the more we can resist. I hope you will do the hard work this week and join me as we begin to sort of dismantle racism in our lives, in our church, and in our communities.